the first question has to do with, I suspect, bile vomiting. Because if a dog is truly hungry, then there won't be anything there to vomit. Somebody asks, what about dogs that vomit when hungry? So I guess you're referring to back when I was talking about fasting. Well, obviously you're talking about bile vomiting, and bile vomiting does represent a possible exception to the rule that fasting is something that almost everybody should employ if they're having a problem with their dogs. And that's only the case. It's going to be a little subjective because some people are okay with seeing their dog vomit bile once every 2 or 3 days. But then there are going to be other people whose dog is going to vomit bile 5 or 6 times a day. And that's uncomfortable for the dog. It's messy in the house. It's stressful for the family to watch. All of those things. So that represents probably the kind of situation where you would want to just feed the dog whatever kinds of foods represents the biggest departure from whatever caused the problem. And anybody coming into RMF from any kind of commercial feeding is going to be okay feeding plant foods, just feeding the foods that are listed on the plant food list in the book. So, that's what you would want to do. And, realistically, even if you're coming from commercial feeding, raw feeding, even if you're coming from high fat PMR feeding, just taking the fat out of the diet is going to allow your dog to heal, and you won't have to put up with that. It does take several months, typically, depending on the age of the dog, for them to get over the bile vomiting. I've gone through that twice now with my dogs. The first dog was 11. No, I think he was actually 9 when I transitioned him away from high-fat raw to low-fat raw. And he probably took a good 9 or 10 months to stop vomiting bile completely. And it just got less and less frequent as time went on. And finally, he just didn't do it at all anymore. So that's what you can expect. It does typically depend on the age of the dog, because I did have kind of a different experience with my current dog, who I put on nothing but meat when she was a puppy because I had a little trouble house training her, and some circumstantial things kind of intervened. And I had, apart from the fact that Cocker Spaniels are notoriously hard to house train, I understand. So I fed her only meat just to regulate her poops a little better as far as frequency and volume and all of that. So once I started feeding her plant foods or introducing fasting, she did vomit bile when her stomach was empty. But it was probably within 3 or 4 months, it was completely gone. And she never does it now, ever. And she is she's probably about 6.5 now. So anyway, let me know if you have any more questions about that.